many, many years ago in Connecticut, which is my home state, I was seeking rental housing, my husband and I. So I would apply to ads in the newspaper, and I was told the unit was available. I would go see it in person, and upon arrival, the unit all of a sudden was no longer available.
My very first listing was $1 million listing in the Shaw area, and I remember as I was putting my sign writer on the sign, I had someone come by and say, wow, it's crazy that a minority is actually selling within this neighborhood.
I was with a client, a young Caucasian client, and we were looking at properties in Washington, D.C. The lockbox on this specific property was on the back of the house. In order to get access to the back of the house, you had to go through a gate, and the gate had actually a significant opening beneath it, so you could actually go under and get to the lockbox if you really wanted to. But I saw the gate, I saw it was locked, and I just let that be and say, hey, I don't think this is gonna happen. My client then says, no, we can just go under.
So then my husband and I applied for a different property. Same thing, available, show up, not available. Tried again. This time it turned out that the property was owned by African-American couple, and we got that one. So that was the first time that I realized in retrospect, not immediately, that I was actually being discriminated against. And we overcame it. Didn't crush us, as it shouldn't crush anybody else. You just move on.
Many people think that although you are a minority, you can only sell in minority areas, it's not true, because we're very knowledgeable of other areas that may not be high diversified. Whenever we try to approach, to get more listings within those types of areas, it's very challenging in the fact that we're looked at in a different way, that we don't really know what we're doing.
So my client decides to just go under the gate and proceed to go to the lockbox and grab the key. For me, I was standing back saying, I'm not going back there. There's no way that I'm crawling under that fence. I know when someone sees a Black person going under a fence and into a backyard, chances are I might be met with the authorities.
So I moved back to DC in 1996. This is when DC had a majority of African Americans, and it was affectionately known as the Chocolate City. B.F. Saul owned Chevy Chase Bank and was a major financial institution and did a lot of real estate investing in the area. They were charged and fined by the Justice Department for systematically refusing to provide mortgages to areas with a high ethnic makeup. I personally benefited from the more equitable mortgage programs that B.F. Saul was forced to implement as a result of the action that was taken on this racist issue. So I ended up buying my first home in 1996. It was in the 16th Street Heights neighborhood, which at that time was predominantly Black.
As that was happening and my client was going through and actually going underneath the gate and moving forward, he couldn't figure out why I wouldn't do it. And I said, dude, it's because I'm Black. I can't do stuff like this. And he said, I remember him saying specifically, like, oh, look at me and my privilege, like not even being aware. And that was one of the moments where he actually taught me, like, I was like, oh, that is privilege. Like, that is kind of what it means.
And what we have to do is educate, activate, mobilize, and act. That's from our former President Obama, which is what I'm doing.
So just looking back 20 years later, it is just so hard to believe that this beautiful neighborhood, which is now highly sought after and gentrified, was once considered risky simply because the demographic was different.
I think it just gives you a snapshot kind of how things work in my daily life, and just some things that I think that I have to think about that now as this is being discussed more and more, I'm definitely realizing that a lot of people don't have to worry about. So that's it.
Don't work with me because I'm Black. Work with me because I'm the best and I'm Black.
With inverted tongue, from whence does fulfillment come? And expelled from this mortal shell. We're not die for living.